U2 is considered one of the best rock bands of all time. Its lead singer has written a new memoir looking back on decades in the spotlight. Norah O'Donnell is in Ireland with Bono, for the record.
Are you out there? 1, 2, 3, 4.
In more than 4 decades as U2's frontman, Bono has been leading one of the world's biggest rock bands across the world's biggest stages. But this stage, if you can call it that, in the schoolyard at Mount Temple Comprehensive in North Dublin, would be the first.
Yeah, I mean, most people were looking the other way if they had ears. But wow, did it feel good to be here.
It was 1978. The boys who weren't quite yet on their way to superstardom, Bono, The Edge, Larry Mullen Jr., and Adam Clayton, were called The Hype. The name didn't stick, but Bono already had the vague sense they might live up to it.
Remember that feeling of being on stage here?
I remember this feeling of, I can do this. It's the thing, it's when you find the thing.
Born Paul David Hewson, he was dubbed Bono by his childhood best friend, and he found the thing early on.
I haven't been here for, 50 years.
It wasn't obvious, even to his high school music teacher.
And I remember one moment where he says, I'm going to get you people who can play an instrument to write a piece of music.
But you didn't know how to play an instrument.
No, so I was in the different part of the class. But I remember that feeling, because I knew I could do this. I know I don't know how to play an instrument, sir.
Yeah.
But I have these melodies in my head, and I have words and I have things I want to say. But still haven't found what I'm looking
U2 formed after 14-year-old Larry Mullen Jr. posted an ad on the same school bulletin board that hangs there now. Drummer seeks musicians to form band. How casually our destiny arrives, Bono writes in his new memoir.
It's a beautiful day to let it get away. It's a beautiful day.
Just the idea of how this band started.
It's preposterous, isn't it?
It is.
But there was magic, that's all we had. And of course, there was a desperation to make something of our lives.
In those early days of the band, did any of you have an idea of superstardom?
That would be me. It doesn't. It's so embarrassing, really. Trying to break it down sometimes. When I look at the absurdity of my life, I think, what is it? We own some kind of feeling. We own our own tone.
Sure.
So there's something there.
With that tone, that singular sound, U2 rose to the height of success. The only band in history with #1 albums on the Billboard 200 in 4 consecutive decades, starting in the 80s with the Joshua Tree. They've sold an estimated 170 million albums and won 22 Grammys, more than any other band. It was a long way from Cedarwood Road, where Bono grew up.
How are you doing?
While we visited with the family that lives in his childhood home,
It's never our place. It was always, oh, do you live in Bono's house?
a crowd gathered outside
Hello.
to see the local boy who made good.
Oh, it's good to see you. How are you? Peace sign. Can you do a peace sign?
As part of our tour of Bono's Dublin,
The Americans are here, and so's the bad weather.
we stopped for a pint at Finnegan's of Dalkey for a rare interview with Bono's wife of 40 years,
How are you?
Allie Hewson.
So you call him Bono, not Paul.
I call him a lot of things.
Paul is not one of them.
Please tell us.
They started dating the same week U2 became a band, and she's inspired some of their biggest hits.
So you dedicated the book to Allie. What did you think when you first read it?
I was very nervous about what was going to go in that book. But I think he's an incredible writer. It just seems to be anything he turns his hand to, he can do, which is very annoying most of the time.
Which one of you first saw what you two might become?
I don't think either of us really saw it. I mean, there was a huge amount of confidence when you're a teenager, I suppose.
Front is another word for that.
Yeah.
Front man. Yeah, probably more front than substance. And faith.
Faith, not only in himself and not only in his band.
You talk about faith a lot. Are you religious?
I don't know. I'm like a stray dog. We go to a Catholic church. I'd be in a synagogue. If somebody said, right now, here, would you give your life to Jesus? Somebody just shout, I'll be me. And I'm not one of those that turn over the picture of the Pope before they do anything funky.
Yeah.
I take God with me wherever I'm going. And so God has seen me in a bit of a state, I'm sure.
Early on, U2's involvement in a Christian group led to questioning whether they could be a band and be believers.
What purpose can music, what's the purpose? The world is, in flames. And what are we doing here? At that moment, Edge started work on a song called Sunday, Bloody Sunday. That's what unlocked it for him. And that kind of unlocked it for us, because we realized that our songs can speak into a situation and perhaps be useful.
Sunday, Bloody Sunday was a condemnation of the bloodshed in Ireland at the time. And Bono says, although it was tested, they didn't lose their faith.
It's not like we've grown up out of that. That was a bit mad. It was a bit mad. But actually, the scriptures, the sacred texts are still very important to me and very important to the band.
Which might explain his decades-long fight against poverty, his meetings with popes and presidents, lobbying heads of state around the world, much of it through the work of his organization, One.
Is it getting better?
Our motivation is very much justice. We cancelled $130 billion worth of debt. An extra 54 million children went to school. That's a big thing in my life, particularly with fighting AIDS. That, for me, outside of my family, our music is the thing that I'm most proud of in my life. Even if it's a tiny part, a catalyst.
Whether it's music or politics or activism, for Bono, the frontman, it comes down to the same thing.
In anything, I was always looking for the top line melody.
Describe what you mean when you say top-line melodies.
It's the thing in the room that rises above the noise and the chatter. That's my job. I'm a songwriter. I'm looking for the clear thought in most things that I do. But the best stories win. The best melodies are the ones that you hear around the corner and you go, what's that? Top line melody.
I mean, we got to end there. I mean, that's...
For sake.
For sake, that's so good. Don't use me saying that. Amazing.
Get this woman a drink.